big red flag, it'll tell them.
Well, I am really proud of Iowa's voting record and what's going on here. We're way ahead of a lot of other states, way ahead.
But we still have paper ballots. Good backup. All right, I think we're live.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't mind me, I just forgot.
I do approve that.
Yep.
So moved.
And I will second those minutes.
All in favor of approving the minutes from last week?
Aye.
Alright. Claims.
I didn't have anything.
I didn't see
Make a
that.
motion that we approve the claims.
Second.
All in favor of approving the claims?
Aye.
Aye. Let's do the rate comes. What deal?
What's going on there?
We did the one last week. I guess you can talk about these. There's a Norway one and the Belle Plaine one, right?
Yep.
We looked at the Belle Plaine last week.
We looked at Rogers Park, we looked at that one,
Yeah.
so.
How much is it? I was thinking about that. Initially, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't right. I'm not saying we should change it, but I'm saying that they didn't do a very good job.
Well, on the existing towers, you know, it'd been nice to have those researched a little more.
Yeah.
I don't know what made a big difference.
The way I got this, so guys, I don't know what you look at. It's a credit.
Yeah, those two are credits.
It's a credit.
So we gotta cut a tower.
Which I don't understand, how did Belle Plaine be a credit if they're extending it?
We'll wait till next week.
I think they're gonna use some of the sheds over there. I don't know that's what they are in Norway.
Yeah,
There's two Norway change orders here.
because you guys moved it. Shed week before, didn't you?
Yeah,
I thought.
conservation's got that.
Well, it's,
So how are they gonna make a taller tower and give us credit?
No, Belle Plaine ain't gonna make it taller, they're just gonna, just like out there, in Kreitner, just put more cables on it.
well, these two are duplicates.
Yeah,
Okay. They can give us 51 twice.
yeah, they ain't gonna be much in the long run.
Last Thursday, we took the other one down, the tower down here, it's that drill.
Anybody around to
What?
cut it up yet?
They were hoping it's gonna be gone by Wednesday, right?
Or they found somebody?
Oh, definitely, yeah, they were there foaming at the mouth Thursday already.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't want to hit the ground, and they were out there with their trailers ready, and
Wow.
so then, I suggested, it's held to draw to the north, I can get conservation tractors on it, hook on up, going on top of the hill where the grass is, mowed,
Sure.
so you can see what you're doing, so. I left and we come over here next door, and I found out later on that's what they did, so.
Yeah.
They were shooting for Tuesday or Wednesday this week, it'd be all gone.
Well, you need a motion to approve those two, credits for Bell.
Norway and Bellplate.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You wanna make sure you sign those too?
We'll jump all over those credits.
We'll offset the other big increase,
Yeah.
118.
Barb, you're up.
I'd like to set a land use hearing for Shawnee Lines for Tuesday, December 6th at 9:15.
Make a motion that we set up that land use hearing for December 6th, 9:15 for Shawnee Lines.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
So, furnace is, have you seen it?
Do we only,
I have not. Last time I was there was Thursday afternoon.
That's been running, that's the first.
Yeah, Rick, we talked,
about it when we did.
Rick,
Thanks. Have a good day.
we talked Friday morning, and it was running.
because they were having some ignition problems, some lighting problems with the lighting Thursday.
Yeah.
So,
What he explained to me is that when it was set up for the factory, that computer says it had another valve for the gas line coming into it. And the computer was saying that that valve wasn't opening enough to let the natural gas come in there to the fire pot to ignite. There was no valve.
so they had to reprogram.
Reprogram the computer. Once they did that,
So,
there we go.
And I bet you it's a lot smaller than the old one.
Oh, man, big difference.
That room looks huge now.
Yeah, big difference. You gotta remember, the old one heated 700 gallons of water. This heats 33.
There ain't any water in the furnace, it's all in the pipes.
Well, it's steam heat, so it's gotta heat it up. But the only drawback is the old system, did not have a, softener on it. Never did. This new system does. It's gotta be,
But it don't use the water, new water all the time, does it?
it uses more than you think. See, everything's all automatic. It'll keep so much water inside the system, and then since it's steam, it does, escape somehow.
I figured once they add water in it, that was,
No. No.
29,
yeah,
this is discussed and act on courthouse security recommendations. I showed you what was sent to me via email. I don't know if you guys wanna act on this or if you wanna table it.
Table it.
Okay.
so
You wanna act on appointing the people though?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Well, there's two different things here. So on the camera portion, you wish to table for more information?
Yep.
Okay, that was your motion. Okay, and since I'm on the committee, I just assume you would go ahead and do a second or not.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a second.
I thought you made the motion.
I'm doing, yeah, whatever. no matter.
Pick one.
Yeah,
They both did.
No matter.
Alright,
I want more information on this.
Call for a vote on that
Yep.
one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the other thing was to appoint all department heads and or a, what's the proper name for that? If they can't be,
Representative of,
if they can't be at the meeting, their designee
okay,
but the designee should be the same person. So if the department head can't be there, the designee would be, but it wouldn't change to rotate throughout the office. It would be one designee. So that's what they recommended.
and then also the add, isn't it Richard Stallman?
Yes, he is not a department head, that is correct.
But that he would be added to this.
okay.
So, thank you,
Mhm.
appreciate that. That is the recommendation of the security committee.
Okay, then I'll make that motion with just what you said.
I'll second it.
Solomon, and all heads department.
All department heads are designated.
And or designee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm calling for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Yes.
I remember you guys tabled that lease for the Cedar Valley Ranch.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I just now heard from them, so they were curious. They would like to know the progress of the modification, either signed or denied, or their next board meeting is November 15th.
We
So,
still don't have a lease with them.
correct, so what's the status, or do you want me to tell her? Just thought you guys wanted to meet with them.
Well, I thought that's where, we haven't been out there for a number of years.
Never.
You have not?
We have.
Never,
but
4
they're
years,
not.
you've been nothing out there. Okay.
I go out there about 3-4 times a year.
Because weren't you, we shared that with Dave too.
So, the next meeting's on the 15th.
Which is next Tuesday. Which, you guys wanna try to go, I mean, that's when the campus too, so you need to come back here.
Well, we gotta make sure it's okay with their schedule. And I thought that's kind of what was,
Yeah, that's why I told her we were kind of waiting for them as well, but
well, I guess they won't have it on November 15th, will they?
they won't have their answer now. Unless
So I
you
guess
met with
they-
them ahead of time.
They need to get with us for a schedule, so what's gonna work to come out and
I'll ask
do a
what time
tour.
that meeting is.
Who's in charge of the building during the day?
Probably the head of the nursing home out there.
You don't know who that is?
I have no idea.
I can picture her, but I can't think.
Morning.
Morning. You call out there.
I guess that would be a, we don't know yet, we don't have a lease.
Alright, I'll see what
I
our
guess
board meeting
it
is.
really won't matter that much that we haven't been out there.
Well, I thought the
Well,
issue was you guys wanted a new lease drawn up since that other one kept getting amended and amended and amended.
Well, I remember they asked if they got extra money. They either gotta give it back to us, or they were asking if they could keep it and put it
right,
to updates, improvements.
and we were kind of wondering what they wanted to do for updates and improvements.
Yes,
Hence the go out and do the
sure.
visit, the
Yeah.
tour.
Yep,
And so,
There's really no issue on whether we do it right now.
Well, they want it by the 15th.
Yeah.
They want it by the next meeting, obviously, then it's gonna have to be their following meeting. I don't know
December.
if they have monthly or what.
And I think in the past, that's when we went out there, we kind of combined in with their monthly meeting.
I can't believe you haven't been out there.
Never.
I've only been through it once.
Myron, I hear you're getting out of it tonight, so.
Yeah. Been by it.
You had a good laugh out of your staff. I stopped in there.
I don't know which would be better.
Well, you're kind of on that, regional mental health, and that's part of the
Yeah.
system, so to speak.
All right, Myron.
There's that stuff that we don't get to all the time. But, then, yeah, definitely, yes.
If David comes in later today, we can ask him what's going on with it.
True.
Okay.
Mechanic position out at Secretary Roads, individual that almost hired 3+ years ago, 4 years ago, and then his current employer sweetened his deal, he stayed where he was at, but he reached out to me here about a month ago and started asking some more questions and would like to come to work for Benton County right now. And so got a resolution here to hire Chris Soika. Mechanic starting November 28th, at a wage of $24.89. Deal labor grade 5A.
We'll make that motion that we go ahead and hire Chris Soika.
Yep.
Close.
Second.
All in favor? By resolution?
Primer, and Primer, aye.
Aye.
Goes by Chris. Yes.
Yeah.
Full name's Christopher.
How you doing? Good, good. You been sitting on your toes, I hope?
Thanks for sending me this. Work on that.
Trying to get out early yesterday, it didn't work, so I figured that would help me if I did that when we did. Last week when I was in here, we did a resolution that they called the farm to market modification. Because I had it in my head that through the city of Shelburne, going over that historic bridge through the downtown area was also the farm market classification. We needed to make some changes with the bridge project. I don't need to make any changes to the farm to market system because that actually runs the truck route through Shelburne and not through downtown, but through over that historic bridge, a block and a half of Pearl Street and the Main Street, I think, and I'm not sure if it's Main or not, through Shelburne, it goes east and west, is a major collector on the federal function classification map. You need to be on that type of route to get what's now the acronym SDBG, but ECOG administered projects, funding wise. So City of Shelburne had asked to have that. Was going through the process to request that the federal functional classification be changed because Shelburne is a community less than 5,000 and doesn't automatically get federal funding. It needs to be a county action. So what I have today, is a resolution of Benton County requesting the DOT to request to FHWA to change that through Shellsburg, the same routes we talked about last week. Taking was gonna get closed with the historic bridge so that there's no vehicles going over it. It'll just be pedestrians, and bicycles, and the new street and bridge that they build parallel to that, connecting, from what I call Jones Street, an intersection there, in Shellsburg, south to about the railroad crossing. And then putting the existing route back to a local designation.
Okay.
So do we need to get rid of the first resolution that we did last week?
We do, and I think that's item number 3, but it's,
Okay.
it's two totally different
Yep.
designations, so I don't think it matters
That's
which
one.
order.
Yep. Got it.
So you need a motion to approve the change
The
of that
approved
classification.
resolution to, request the change of federal functional classification.
Okay. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
All in favor by resolution?
You got all that? Sure.
It's a resolution, so I got it all.
Well, Bremer, aye.
Here's that guy.
Seaman, aye.
So then the next thing we do is cancel the resolution we passed last week, right?
Certainly that, that
Have
number that
resend number 22103.
is the one that we
My
did.
motion,
Okay,
to resend that.
Second.
oh, that don't have to be by resolution, right?
No,
Okay,
it just,
there's not,
No.
okay.
I don't even put it in my file.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. no.
Alright, resend it.
When are they
See
gonna
the
start
guy
that,
that's
right?
painting the streets is getting some paint done.
Well, they did our road. When are they gonna start that?
The plans go out to contractors next Tuesday, and they're hoping on, I think it's the 20th of December. Yeah.
So the designated truck route, I presume, is past the elevator.
Correct.
I thought,
I had, we had actually, I say we, Benton County had actually went through a rather extensive, review of Benton County and the farm to market system, 10, 12 years ago. And when I re-looked at that file, I realized that we had taken that through Shellsburg on the main street and over the bridge off of that at that time. Didn't really need 2 farm to market extensions running through town.
sure.
It used to be a farm to market going east out of Shellsburg, but that dated way back before Dwayne Arnold was built and when the grid system was still kind of on the mile system and some of those roads got cut off with Pleasant Creek project.
You wanna put the number on there, it's 105.
That's all I had for you today.
When did he, the big move, 1:30 then?
Wednesday, I have been, the latest I had Thursday or Friday last week is that yes, they're switching traffic over to the south new pavement on Highway 30 there between 22nd and 16th. I think they had, some striping and signs to put up yesterday and today, and they felt they didn't get that done last week, so that's why it got moved till tomorrow. It also sounds like next Monday, they're gonna be opening both lanes of 30 between Salt Creek and Tama County and 11th Avenue there at 21 interchange area. They'll be working on the bridge over the winter and through next season to get that done, but the 4 lane of 30 underneath will be open next Monday. And the roundabout up in Urbana, they're expected to have all the concrete paving done this week. What I had from last Thursday's meeting was they were planning on striping the roundabout next Monday. I haven't heard an opening date. I know that there were some errors made on some surveying and staking, and so in my world, I would be counting today like day 17 of day 20 of that stage 2 activity. I think there's been some days added, so but it sure sounds like things are coming together towards the end right now and getting that opened up. Whether that's next week for sure or not, I couldn't tell you that. I haven't heard, but I think it's getting very close.
Sure, it's inconvenient trying to get from one side of Urbana to the other. So,
I know the 2 rain showers, heavy rains that we've gotten over the last, 10 days have had some heavy impact on the unmarked rock detours that are being used around that area.
so next week being cooler, is there gonna be a problem with the striking?
Possibly, you can use an oil-based paint that allows you to get into cooler temperatures, but it still has a temperature needed.
Yeah.
But your typical paint that's used throughout most of the season, yes, that doesn't work well with cold weather at all.
Are you gonna have all the roads striped or whatever marked?
All the roads that I had asked, that I felt needed, on our end, were done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week.
I haven't seen them out there.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Just coincidentally, all the paint that I ordered in March came in on Monday of last week and Thursday preceding week. I think I've got a little bit of both colors left, in that if I miss something or something needs to be touched up, the painter said give him a call in the spring and he'll go over and get rid of that paint and put it down where I need it. But I'm hopeful that based on driving the county and making notes of which ones looked worn and which ones looked okay, that we got what we needed before.
Good.
How you setting on drivers for the snowplow trucks this winter? I don't know.
Probably not quite, but with some employee leaves right now that uncertain as to return dates on a couple. Not sure there, but I am working on that just in case.
Okay. You got 2 guys out running maintainers right now, right?
Mm-hmm. The DOT is gonna end up doing the 21 detour that will alleviate some of what we're doing. But it's also in an area where it's hard to get to, so we're probably gonna not necessarily be doubling up, but you're gonna have to be on it to get to a few places at times.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like last night, DOT right south of Old Grady or Nutrients had a big sign up there, flashing sign saying that south of Van Horn's closing Wednesday morning,
Correct.
you know. Well, then it just dawned on me that here, you know, the snowplow guys are gonna have to go down to 30, turn around, come back in order, and then go down 218, come back on 30 to go on the Blairstown Road to continue on into Blairstown, right?
That might be an option, and I'm gonna say we have been able to use 24,000 units any winters, all the way down to the Watertown Watkins Road, and sometimes have used that as a starting point and taken Watertown snow from Watertown to 30 and then come back. And then you're still in the Watertown area doing other things versus starting from 30, going down to Watertown and having to come back.
So when they open up, 30 for the south side, or is Blairstown gonna be open then?
Correct.
Really?
Starting Wednesday morning, you'll be able to get on Highway 30 or off of Highway 30 at Blairstown intersection.
But you won't be able to go.
But you will not be able to go north directly in Horn.
They're closing the Van Horn. I mean, that's the way it's always been done.
I mean, the intersection will still be closed for cross traffic completely, but you will have the flip flop that's going on right now. You will be able to go and come from Blairstown from Highway 30, but you will not be able to go and come from Van Horn, Highway 30.
I know the kids are already coming up 218 now. I mean, like this morning, I really noticed it. Man, it was just bumper to bumper cars for me trying to get on my west corner to come up here. It just, I was amazed at traffic. And then, of course, when we get to the Van Horn corner, boom, they go west. So the kids are already thinking it's closed now. It was not closed last night, of course. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
What about any report?
Amen.
Don't have any.
I told you about the tower. She come down.
Yeah.
Got her on film.
So next Tuesday, if they do come back, are you guys going to go early for that or wait?
She hasn't said anything.
But I know.
Well, I don't know that to go out there 7:30 would give us time to do a very good tour. You know, something we should actually do with a little more time, I would think.
We really never toured, we just sat there before, honestly.
Yeah, we just went out there, sat in the conference room, and, yeah.
What I was gonna suggest is that they can, if they want it done by next Tuesday, I'm open on, I can make it work either Thursday or Friday.
We're off Friday.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Thursday, I have a 2:00 post audit collection.
Okay. Well, that'd be Thursday morning then, or I could go Wednesday afternoon even.
Yeah, we might see what she says.
That's tomorrow.
David,
Rick,
Good morning.
Morning.
I think we had sent the request to have you look over a lease for Cedar Valley Ranch.
Yep.
And we were hoping to get out there and have a sit down with them.
Is that
Look at
next
what they,
Tuesday, did you say?
well, their meeting is on the 15th. They wanted to know if we could have everything taken care of by then.
I think we could have that for you next week.
Well, but part of that was they had some funds that were supposed to come to us, to Benton County, not to us, but to Benton County. And, or they were gonna use it for improvements and things of that nature. Well, we were kind of curious as to what they were gonna use it for.
Okay, so here's where I'm at on that. I have still not heard, and you told me and it slipped in one ear and out the other, so be it. My recollection is, and I don't have it here in front of me, once they reach a certain amount of money on hand, the excess comes back to Benton County. And they would like to modify that to allow them to use the money for, something out there. I don't know exactly what. You folks need to tell me what you wanted to say.
We kind of were looking to see what they wanted to utilize the money for.
Because I can't really change it until I know what you folks wanted to say. Are you in favor of that? Are you, So you're gonna be out there when, you said?
We don't know.
Don't know that yet.
They're having a meeting next Tuesday morning.
So, and by the way, I don't know if this is on the agenda. I did not look at the agenda.
No.
I'm here for the.
No, this is sideline.
Okay. So maybe you guys should schedule your meeting, see what they want to do, and then tell me what you want to do.
That's kind of
Because otherwise it would
the
just
avenue
be,
we were taking, but,
otherwise it would just be me suggesting something.
okay. So once we have our meeting, then we need to get back with David so we can fill in the blanks. I see by the news they pushed the trials off.
We had a last second continuance. We did.
Wow.
So,
To January and February, something
well,
like
the one was already set for January, but the one that was we were supposed to be doing this week is now February 6th, I think. So, and very happy to report the courthouse has heat. That's kind of a nice thing in that back corner that we inhabit.
that. As you can see, we don't have much heat in here by Haley with her coat on, so.
You got a thermostat.
Yeah, and then it takes away the sound, so.
Should maybe get you a little heater by your feet.
That radiator heat is, that is nice on a frosty morning. How much, out of curiosity, how much did that new boiler cost?
Oh,
180.
180?
Yeah.
And how old was the old one?
Well, I was told they think it was built,
Before that, because Bruno said it was here when he.
yeah, it was built in the basement, the way I understand it.
Well, Mark Greenlee was here when the old one exploded. So, what's the life of a boiler?
Definitely 50 years.
No, let's hope.
Well, how long did the one at Central last? That was put in in 63.
40 years.
And is this one, I'm assuming, exponentially more efficient, or?
Definitely. The old one heated 700 gallons. This one heats 33.
It's got heat more often.
Well, hopefully it'll save some money. Well, over the
I
course of
think
its
it
life.
should. I really do. They assured me that it's big enough. I'm more worried about the winter time. 0 below, the wind blowing, that it's big enough to keep the building warm. And they assured me it is.
Well, Hopefully they know what they're talking about.
I'm thinking that you're probably gonna be the one that
Scared to-
notices it first, means the furnace is in the basement, you're clear upstairs.
That northwest corner.
Yeah.
We, and I understand why, and it doesn't bug me, because I actually like it a little bit chilly myself. But sometimes the practice has been, when it's not gonna get super, super cold, that you cut it back in the afternoon. And so we're the first to cool off. And I did learn a lesson in '99. We had a trial in February or first part of March, colder than heck out, and we were gonna do some witness prep. And that's when I learned that they don't fire it up so much on the weekend. So we did witness prep in our coats. So I learned in the future, you gotta do witness prep on the weekend. You talk to maintenance to fire that thing up at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
This new furnace should heat up a lot quicker, because it don't have near the water to heat. I mean, if you call for heat now, I would guess that in an hour, it's.
I'm assuming it's gonna be really good. I know it's not real cold out right now, but you can heat, not that you would do it, you can heat those offices up if you open that valve all the way. You get up to 90 degrees plus.
Feels pretty good right now for you, wouldn't it, Haven?
Mhm.
You can even get up there on a, coldest of days. You open that thing up and it just, we
I'm the
would do
oddball,
that.
I'm always cold in the office, so. The girls are always having the windows open. I get used to it.
Well, there's more computers in there, putting off heat, more
Well, we've
bodies.
been busy with voters, so that helps.
Are we waiting for 9:45?
Correct.
Well, that May is coming too, she was running behind, so hopefully we can squeeze her in first.
Well, but I'm guessing that
Is Christy Marie calling
Christy
in or
Marie will
coming?
probably be calling. She did last week.
Are you going to Christy?
I haven't, well,
Well, I can't do that, I'll do it never mind.
waiting,
I was gonna send one of those,
you can,
well, I better not, that doesn't look good.
okay.
But never mind. Forget that.
I told Christy Marie we'd call her. She hasn't called in, has she?
The phone rang just a minute.
Okay, yeah, I told her we'd call her when it started, just so I'll wait till we close that.
quick, side note. Really texted me yesterday about how bad the dumpster is out here, which I knew it was bad.
As far as holes in it and
Floor is pretty well gone.
yeah.
So I got a hold of Easy Trash yesterday, and they're getting a new dumpster.
Good.
When I stopped this morning on this side to deliver the eggs, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
You got chickens?
I seen someplace was talking about the inflationary prices, et cetera. And there's places in the country where they get about $5 a dozen for eggs.
Really?
Yeah.
Ivy's sale price this week was like $2.50 or $2.99 a dozen, and I thought, gosh, that's the sale price. I just buy them, but it just made me laugh because it was it's like 99 cents was like the sale price, but.
I forget which county it is, but it has the most chickens of anywhere in the state. And they had a
Well, we were talking last night, two of them, I think it was Warren and, Wright County and Wise maybe, where they had euthanized like 1 million chickens. So
Wait till Haley comes back.
it's like drumsticks. So,
we got chickens too. And, they let them out every day. And one of them must not come back because this fall she had a whole bunch of chickens.
Really?
About
Nobody there? You give her a heads up that was.
Well, she didn't open the door, so I was still home.
well, we need to go into closed session.
Yes, we do.
So, make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.51C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My brain went, take this exit and go south on Highway 151, because that's where I go all the time, right? Because I'm going to Cedar Rapids, I'm going to Iowa City, I'm going to Anamosa, whatever. And then I'm on that county road that takes me down to 151. I was like, this is not the way to be. So sorry. Maybe I should do one thing at a time and not try to do a whole bunch. So, just wanted to touch base.
I can do that.
Give you an update on where we're at for the region and just, check in like I like to do as often as I can, which doesn't end up being usually more than a couple times a year. So wanted to share with you our FY23 priorities, and I feel really bad that this is November and we're just getting to it, but we've had a hard time scheduling. If you remember kind of our process, we have a 5-year strategic plan, 5 very broad goals in that strategic plan. And then in May of every year, I bring suggested priority initiatives to the Regional Governing Board. And we picked May of the year because the legislators are supposed to be done by the fourth Thursday of the May. And for the record, I'm 0 for 3 on that. The first year the pandemic happened and the legislative session got truncated. Last year they went till June, and this year they did finish up in May, but it was after the board meeting. So we're shooting for it each year. Anyway, we kind of knew where we were at legislatively this year, that we moved forward with setting our priority initiatives for FY23. So you have them, if you remember, if you've seen this in previous years, they're divided out into those priority tiers, and that is mostly for us to be thinking about workload, and also to not to prioritize them as far as like something's more important than the other. But there are things in there that might be in priority tier 2 or 3 that are continuation of work that was done last year, and maybe last year it was in tier 1. So this year it's a continuation and it's in 2 or 3. Or sometimes we have things that are in priority tier 2 that we see not as the region's main responsibility, but we're a partner to the work. And so it's not our highest priority, but it's still a priority for us. So I was thinking on my way down, I should have brought the quarterly update. So at the end of each quarter, the status keys on the left side in that little box, at the end of each quarter, I move one of those over to the bubbles that are next to each priority initiative, and I present it to the regional governing board to let them know where we're at, how much progress have we made. I really like that process because I feel like it holds us accountable to the work, so they can see quarterly like how far we've gotten on each of the priorities. So I'm happy to send that to you. It'll be time before I know it to do the second quarter update with the board as well. Don't want to go through all of them. I don't want to take too much of your time, but things that are important to us this year are certainly being responsible with the taxpayer dollars and being a good partner with now it's called the Department of Health and Human Services because DHS and Public Health merged together. So a good partner with HHS. And we have a performance-based contract. We have a contract that says what regions must do. So we need to be responsive to that. We also have the obligation under the legislation to reduce our fund balance. You know that this has been a conversation for years. At the end of FY22, we needed to be at 40%. At the end of FY23, the year we're in, we'll need to be at 20%, and then FY24 and beyond, we're supposed to be at 5%. We are asking the legislator, and it's one of our legislative priorities this year, to change that to 10%, because we just think that 10% is a more comfortable number for us to be at with our ending fund balance. So it's not listed, just responsibility to lower the region's fund balance to the legislatively directed amount, whatever that amount is going to be if it changes. So we're keeping a real eye on the budget. This year, our budget is $29 million, and our revenue from the state is a little over 23. So $6 million difference, that's because we're getting into that fund balance to bring the fund balance down to the 20% at the end of this year. Other things that we're working on are data. I really want to move the region to a more data-driven system where we are measuring the performance of our providers via some outcomes, and we have to create a data structure for us to do that measurement. So this year we have I'm calling it exploration and design phase, working towards what we're calling a data warehouse. And that work is working with our provider network and finding out what data do they keep. We don't know. We know what data we ask from them and they give us, but I don't know what their daily processes are and what they keep, how they report it, what they report it, how often they report it. So we have invited 6 providers who have been really gracious to work with us. And we are going in and saying, show us, like, what is your electronic health record and how do you use it and what's the workflow? We've done one already and it was really eye-opening because I don't know, and so it was great for us to learn. We're going to take what we have found out from that exploration phase and design a data warehouse where we can have providers upload things to a warehouse for us so we can look more comprehensively region-wide how we're doing rather than just pocket here and there. I want to create more of a structure for that. So the other couple things in the first priority are evaluations. We are doing an evaluation this year of our service coordination activities as well as our crisis services. The crisis services, kind of the impetus for that was since the region formed in 2013, we have built on crisis services, which is good, right? I mean, we were directed to by the code, that's good. I'm not saying it's not good. But I think it's time for us to say, okay, well, like, how have we done? Do we have enough? Do we have duplication? Do we have too much? So just an evaluation of that, like where are we at? I know one thing that the evaluation is going to tell us is that our crisis services are not responsive enough to our rural counties. You know, we measure mobile crisis response is supposed to get to the situation in 60 minutes. And we're right at 92% in our urban counties. We're about 54% in our rural counties. And I don't like that. Right, so wanting to have a comprehensive evaluation to say, how are we doing? And then with service coordination, we have our regional social workers, right? You have Sarah here. And then there's also IHH through Medicaid. We have the law enforcement liaisons. We have mobile crisis response. We have crisis stabilization, community-based services. We have a lot of different services who do follow along with people and kind of follow along and make sure that people are getting to services, connected to services. And through that evaluation, again, do we have too much? Do we have too much duplication? I think we have some duplication in some areas. But on the other hand, we're a really big region. Maybe that duplication is warranted. So we would like to have a third party do an objective evaluation of how we're doing and make some recommendations for us to just have a more efficient system of service coordination. Other than that, things that we're working on this year, workforce, not always, still remains an issue. I hope it won't be always. Still remains an issue. So we've got some ideas for workforce and some collaborations with providers that we're doing to see if we can help them stable their workforce. I also put in there about the innovative use of technology. Last year, we invested over $1 million with our providers in technology, which was totally fine. It was money well spent. They were really behind. We wanted to get them caught up. But now that we've gotten them caught up, I want to say, okay, now what? And what are you doing with it? We helped you get caught up. Let's use technology in an innovative way to support the people that we have throughout our region. So, co-occurring disorders, we are advocating with policy and funders about the integration of co-occurring disorders. People have substance use disorder issues as well as brain health issues. I'm hopeful that Kelly Garcia, who's the director of HHS, came from Texas, and in Texas they had that integrated. And with the merger of the Department of Public Health and the Department of Human Services, I think the state of Iowa is going that direction as well. And I've told the board, I've told our staff, I'd like the East Central region to be a leader in that. Like, okay, if the state's going that way, that's great. We don't necessarily have to sit back and wait for them. We can advise them and we can push them. So Mona has been a really great participant on that committee because of her experience. So we're doing research about what's happening across the nation, what are emerging trends, what are best practices, what type of policy should we recommend to the legislator, and how can we twist HHS's arm to maybe get some of the funding in our direction. So we were talking about it last week that there's no necessarily effective system for substance use disorders. And we want to stand up and say, look at what we've done, right, for brain health and disabilities. Like counties and regions know how to do this work. So, give us the opportunity to delve into that. Working with healthcare agencies to provide brain health support. Last year, in the last 2 years, we did a lot with education. Not that education still isn't suffering, but the folks who work in healthcare really are. They've seen a lot, they've dealt with a lot in the last 2 years. They've had some impact to their morale with the whole traveling nurse phenomenon and, just kind of what that did to people's attitudes and them feeling valued. So we're doing both training and an outreach campaign to healthcare, just to say you're still valued, right? Brain health prevention services for children. I love that one. It's the shortest one in here, but I wanted to make sure it was included in our priority initiatives. The Regional Governing Board in March approved a line item in our budget that was $1 million for children's brain health. And so, we're serious about it. Put a lot of money into that line item, and we want to make sure that we are helping children in their developmental stages of life so that when they're adults, that they don't have the brain health crises that we're seeing, build those skills young. The peer support evaluation last year, we did a peer support evaluation, and now this year is just implementing those recommendations. There were a lot of recommendations that came out of the report, but it's in tier 3 because it's like, okay, we have the work done, so now we just need to implement that. Training for regional staff. I'd like to standardize our training for our staff a little bit. Currently, how it happens is Mona might say, and this is an example, Mona might say, I'm interested in eating disorders. So I'm going to go to a training about eating disorders. Well and good, but if all of our staff are doing that and they're just going to things that are their pick, what about the things that are universal for all of us? Suicide prevention, co-occurring disorders, trauma, responsive care, those types of things. So we have a committee who's working on a core group of required, so to speak, trainings. And then we have hours within that plan for some flexibility. So Mona can still go to an eating disorders training if she's interested in that. But we're making sure all of our staff region-wide have that base of the things that we think are important. And the complex needs. We still don't have intensive residential support homes as a service developed in our region. And I had a brief conversation last week with Lori Elam, who is the CEO for the Eastern Iowa region, because she asked me, do you have ERSH? And I'm like, no, not yet. We issued an RFP, April? Yeah, it was in April, March or April, and we had one proposal submitted, and 5 days later, the provider pulled that proposal. They said, we can't. We can't even staff the services that we currently have, and you're asking us to develop a new service that's really intensive and takes a lot of training, and we just don't have the workforce to do it. So when Lori Elam from Eastern Iowa region asked me, do I have it? And I was like, no, we haven't been able to get it off the ground. And I said, we want to go back at it this year. I've got $500,000 in our budget for startup for ERSH. So I said to Lori, what if we work together and we do something that's, Johnson County or Lynn County would be accessible to both her region and ours, and maybe together with the, kind of the strength of the two regions, maybe we can get it done. So she said, great idea, let's schedule a meeting. So that's a collaboration with other regions for complex needs services. So that was it, really quickly. Questions, comments, thoughts on what we're doing, how you feel like the region and the direction that we're going.
Nothing here.
I think it was Gary that when I presented these to the board in May said, this is really aggressive, there's a lot of work here. And I said, I know, but I believe in us and I think we can do it. So we've got, and the coordinators tease me all the time because we got committees for almost every single one of these. And they're like, I can't keep track of which committee we're talking about right now because it's just a lot of work, spreading out the work amongst our staff. And
We had the same meeting 2 weeks ago because I don't know which day it was actually supposed to be on. Thanks.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, but it's progress, and we're moving things forward in a way that I feel like the regional governing board supports, and I'd love to come out to you guys too, because I want to keep you informed and give you the opportunity to say, like, I don't think the region should be doing that, so let me know. I'm sure you would pass that on through Gary and Mona too, but yeah.
There's a lot of work.
A lot of work. There's a lot to be done, but like I said, I believe in us. I think we can do it. We've got great staff. Financially, are y'all comfortable with kind of how everything has worked this year? That the region pays to the counties prior to the quarter starting the amount of money that the county will need for administration and occupancy expenses. Are y'all comfortable with how that's working this year? Haley?
That's a Haley question.
No, but I did reach out to Deb Gard because the fourth quarter payment come in after the fact,
Oh, yeah, about the accrual.
So I needed to pay that back because it wasn't in our fund balance at the time and we paid out. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
So I was gonna have to issue more back to the region as well. Because I didn't know if we could counter that, the next quarterly, reduce that amount or what, but regardless, I'd have to have spending authority for that amount, so.
Okay. And you got that all squared away?
Okay, I understand the amount, it's just a matter of how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
So,
We shouldn't have that problem going forward.
I don't think so, because we
It was
won't
just
have
a-
those-
Yeah,
just that last fourth quarter one.
when you still had a Fund 10, but you were emptying out Fund
Yep.
10 and then it
Yeah,
came
they
in.
kind of overlapped what we were back and forth, so.
Yeah. And we were finishing up fund balance projects too, so, yeah. Okay.
Has there been any other issues with the new line items and
I
the,
think that we're working out those
all of
hiccups, yeah, so it's just a matter of getting that portion back.
Great.
I
I
it's
don't
all-
know how you all do it, or if you do, because we have a variance across our 9 counties. Deb would really like a standardization, like a formula, to figure out how we pay the counties for those administrative costs, like space for the rent of the office, time for the auditor's office to do all of these things. And so some of our counties charge back those administrative costs or those occupancy costs to the region, and some don't. And those who do, it's all a different formula. So Deb would really like to get that standardized. And we have a board finance subcommittee meeting this afternoon. to talk about that. So before we finalize budgets this year, we'll have that for you.
So, like, I know we do the indirect costs with like DHS and those other
Yes.
things, so that's something we could do with Mona and Sarah's offices then?
Yes.
Because it's, I mean, it's Berkeley, you guys have.
No.
You haven't? Okay. Like I said, some do, some don't, and yeah. So we just want, I think that a lot of people felt, well, when it was county money, right? It was property tax dollars. And so, okay, this is just part of this partnership and our contribution. And not saying that the partnership has necessarily changed, but it's state dollars now. And so our standpoint is we don't want to take advantage of the goodwill of each of our counties, and we want to make sure that our counties are adequately compensated for hosting and doing this additional work that they need to do.
If you come up with a standardized formula, that would be much easier.
Otherwise, what we've done in the past, we look at the square footage of this building type of thing and then divvy it out
Yes.
accordingly, because like the utility water bill, kind of one lump sum, and then that's the way we've tried to get it to be as accurate as we could.
And I know some other counties have done that too, and that doesn't necessarily take into account, right, your time or the treasurer's time, and so we want to consider that.
Would we need to do the same thing with the hub, because we also don't
Correct.
do a
That would be a separate one
CP down
too.
there.
So we would actually do that in the hub's budget request for FY24. I mean, yes, it's a little bit different,
But
yeah.
that thing standardized.
Yes,
Because they have
I
a
think we
portion,
should,
there is
yeah.
a portion.
yeah,
Yeah, we haven't done that since the beginning.
right.
Because are you okay with the reports with Department 16, Department 16?
Yeah, that's been
That was easier, cleaner. Once we got going.
good, yeah. Yeah, good.
It takes some time. I don't know how old our region is, but it takes some time to get all this stuff worked out.
Oh, for sure. And the whole transition of the funding and, yeah.
And now the state's got their fingers in the till too.
And the state, Marissa Ianson, who's the division administrator at HHS, which means she's in charge of all the MHDS services in the state, she's been clear multiple times with us that they are just funding our management plan. If we put it in our management plan that this is something we want to do, for example, integrate co-occurring disorders, if they have the authority to approve our management plan, but once it's approved, they fund our management plan. Because sometimes, like in the CEO group, other CEOs will be like, do you think I need to ask permission? And I'm always like, no. I mean, it's in your management plan and they approved your management plan. Like, just because it's their money now doesn't mean that you have to, do things differently. I said, we're still responsible to our regional governing boards. That has not changed, so. All right.
Is Des Moines County still struggling?
It's so hard for me to get a grasp on what they've got because there's some weird way that they get revenue from Broadlands because it's a county-owned facility. And there's something with like how Broadlands gets revenue and how they can return it back to the region. It's a little bit weird. But no, not as much as they were. So the equalization, with the dollars helped a lot for them. They are not, and this is where I'm confused, they're not eligible for the incentive fund this year because you had to be below 20% fund balance in order to be eligible for the incentive fund, and they weren't. But I think Annie, the CEO, predicts that they will be for next year. So they're not like going to the well, necessarily like, and maybe historically then their practice.
The thing that bothers me is Benton County has always had a surplus. They've done well with their funds. And if, in fact, this gets too state orientated, I suspect that down the road, they may try to take funds from Benton County and move them.
Well, and they can't because the funds aren't in Benton County anymore. right? You don't have Fund 10 anymore, so they really can't do that. Or do you mean other than MHDS?
When I pay my property taxes,
Yeah, well, yeah.
if it's going to Des Moines County, or, excuse me, Polk County, and they're using our funds, that's not my problem. Well, it is my problem, they're using my funds.
Well, don't worry, we're pretty strong advocates, so. Make sure our region's getting its fair share, and we are.
Well, I think our region does a very good job in managing our counties.
Mhm.
And Polk County in the past hasn't done that great. So, I'm sorry, but, I mean, we just gotta keep an eye on it.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for being a little bit flexible. Accommodating to my long term this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Okay, so I had, get on the ramps and shouting. Our meeting is at 7 a.m. However, she will meet with you and tour anytime that the supervisors are available. A new lease would be something we could discuss. Thanks for getting back.
That's kind of what we talked about, getting together. So now we just gotta come up with when it's gonna work. Right?
Thursday morning, 9 o'clock.
Well, yeah, you're okay Thursday morning, aren't you?
Well, I mean, we're still busy getting ready for the, but if somebody had to come, I could try to send somebody. I'll find out.
Or tomorrow afternoon, that'd be
No,
worse.
that'd be worse.
That's what I thought.
It's still a chaos.
What's next week look like? And I know that's
I will
after
be
their,
gone Wednesday and Friday. Courtney and I are going to some training,
okay,
so it probably wouldn't be the best for my staff
Monday, the
to
14th.
join me. Let me see what works for them.
Okay. But you just wanna get back to us.
Or if, wait till their next meeting, I guess, too.
On this one. Yeah. Well, anything else, sir?
Yeah,
How about a motion to adjourn?
okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We can schedule that anytime, you just gotta let me know.